right. Welcome back to another episode of How Did This Get Made? I'm kidding.
I'm kidding.
Stop. You're going to make me act up. This is another episode of the Webheads podcast. Shout out to Tony Coronado, my favorite TikToker. He spends too much time acting up on the internet. And it's me, Steven. I am here again for part 2 of Atlantis Attacks with my brother
DeMarco.
And my grandma is outside somewhere. Stanley is also out there. The world is outside and we're inside.
It's windy outside today.
Yeah, we couldn't record outside today. It was raining this morning. It was super windy. I would have pushed it, but I don't want to get sick again.
Not fun.
I've had COVID this year. I've had a cold this year. And that's one more than I usually get every year. So,
if you guys have ever been sick before, you know how it is.
if you've ever been sick before, shut the hell up. Let's get started on the story. So far we've come across a few stories. Gore and Lyra are trying to do what they can to bring back the serpent crown so they can gain all the power and take over the whole world.
Like a normal villain story, or goal.
Yeah. So far, they need they want to gather 7 brides for Set. Is he a demon or an elder god that they're trying to bring back?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. The Set is the elder god that they're trying to bring back with the serpent crown, and they want to have 7 brides for him as soon as he arrives. So far, they have She-Hulk, I believe is it.
Mm-hmm.
And they are working with Gore and Lyra are working with Atlantis and the Lemurian army to help do all this stuff, help take over everything. So that's where we've landed so far. The first story that I'm getting into this week is the Avengers Annual number 18. Let me switch hands because I can't read from my left hand for some reason. And, oh boy, the Jets. And so right now we have Gore and Lyra. They finally finished building the serpent crown, and they can finally set free Set. You guys gonna think of any other name for this shit? They call up Atuma to see if he and Atlantis are ready to drop bows in the surface world, and he says, yeah, but he's a little hesitant about doing this because he's still not sure of working with Lemuria and their whole motives behind this.
Mm.
And but he still sends out the Atlantean army full force, and they to multiple eastern U.S. locations, and they're ready to kill as soon as they get up there. Meanwhile, the Avengers are watching all of this on TV and not doing a damn thing about it. But they did make some calls for reinforcements. But now that the Serpent Crown is finished, everyone who has worn it before feels the effects of its power in the world again. And finally, the Avengers finally assemble, and the Fantastic Four, Black Panther, Hulk, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Vision, and Iron Man, all part of the Avengers right now, show up to help. Then they all immediately split up to go stop the attacks at all 4 eastern cities that are being attacked by Atlantis. Sue, Reed, She-Hulk, and Black Panther show up to face the Atlantean General Lord Arno after they attacked an unnamed place on the East Coast. No idea where. They don't sell us anything.
What's the fun of that? That
certain place in a certain time, and you don't tell us anything, nothing. But when they arrive, Sue turned them all invisible. They They ran through most of the Atlanteans in minutes, took over the base soon after, but for some reason She-Hulk was kind of off of her game the whole battle and almost checked out. See, so this is kind of going before, which you told us already, where she's already been set as one of the brides. But thanks, Marvel. You guys, I don't know what was going on in the office that year. So she's kind of checked out. Next, we go over to Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, and we have Hulk, Human Torch, Cersei from the Eternals, Wanda, and Wonder Man, and they all show up to battle Tyrak and his team. Hulk and Wonder Man take their fight to Tyrak. Wanda uses her powers to land their ship that they all jumped out of mid-flight. And Johnny and Cersei don't do much at all. Out of nowhere, Moondragon and Rick Jones pull up at the end of the fight. And I don't even think Rick has powers right now. He just showed up with Moondragon. So we jump back to Brooklyn. The team of Thor, Wasp, Hank Pym, Tigra, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. They have all shown up to bring the ruckus. Thor wrecks almost everyone himself. What? Oh, Thor wrecks almost everyone, including himself. And who he doesn't kill is Hank Pym because he shrunk down to basically toy size during the fight. And we don't see who's leading the Atlanteans here. They're just in Brooklyn fighting. We see no leader here. And then we jump over to the team of Captain America, Iron Man, Vision, Mockingbird, Captain Marvel, and this is Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel. And they make their way to Cape Canaveral in Florida. All they do is turn up the heat on some of the Atlanteans, break their helmets that are holding their water in, so they just run back into the water. And you would think that would stop them from coming back. And as soon as they get back into the water, then this large Kraken-type creature just eats them whole. Like, you would think that it was the helmets being broken be the reason that they couldn't come back to fight. But no, they go back into the water and then just get eaten by this Kraken thing. Like, shouldn't that be on your side?
You would think.
So, then we cut to who was leading them, and it was Krang the Warlord, who we met a long, long time ago in the quest for Krang. And he's sitting in like this nice little pretty ship watching the whole thing go down. And then when someone in a red full body suit shows up and just starts beating his ass in the ship. We never see who it is. And then we cut over to Atuma, pissed off that all of his troops are lost, and now his army is just a handful of guys left. The Avengers all convene back at their headquarters and decide that there isn't any more for them to do, so they just call it a day.
How big was the Atlantean army if like most of them are gone now? And they were
Probably
like
couldn't have
taken
been that
out
big.
by like 12 people.
It was, I don't know. Maybe Atuma just thought that like I should be good with the amount of people that I have here. But for you to get like taken down to like a handful after you just sent your full army at the East Coast and then get taken out, like you don't.
I could see if like Iron Man was like dropping nukes or something, or like
if they were taking out thousands and thousands of troops, then okay, like you just weren't well trained for this situation. But it doesn't sound like that's what the case was. And then even for you to show up in Brooklyn and then for them to just heat up your helmets and you're like, and then all of you guys get eaten by the Kraken thing. You guys shouldn't have been here in the first place. So then we jump over to, the Avengers said, we're done. Call it a day. Let's go home. Half-assed superheroes here. So then we jump over to the New Mutants annual number 5. And we see Gore and Lyra. They're in their lair watching the New Mutants and Namor battle it out with a sea creature no one had ever seen before and only surfaced because the New Mutants. This is kind of jumping back again. like before the story even starts. Really, uh, the New Mutants had found this horn that, when used, it's called the Horn of Doom, and it brings up, depending on who plays it and how it sounds, it'll bring up a different uh, sea creature from the bottom of the ocean. And they know that for things to go well at this point, so for things to go well, Set for. Oh, I hate that shit. They know that for things to go well for Set, they will need that horn, and that Namor now possesses the horn, and he's no easy fight. So now we're kind of, I don't know where. I honestly couldn't tell you. I was, I thought I knew for a second, and then I was like, no, I don't know shit. So yeah, they know that Namor possesses the horn now, and he's no easy fight. Gore sends a few of his men to go chase down Namor to get the horn. At this point, they find that Namor is believed to be dead, and he left the horn with his cousin Namorita. So the goons try to sneak into her room to get it while she's sleeping. After attacking her, the 9 goons that he sent finally hold her off just long enough to steal the horn and take off with it. Namorita and her security take off to the surface to find the idiots that robbed her, but first they need to find the New Mutants. They quickly find that the New Mutants they quickly find the New Mutants and they start attacking them. For some reason, they believe that the New Mutants are the ones who attacked Namorita in the first place, because they originally found the horn. They thought that they came back to steal it again.
To put it back.
You know what happened last time. You gonna come steal it from me? So they battled it out back and forth until Namorita finally opens her ears and listens to what the New Mutants are saying and realizes that they didn't steal the horn. Hundreds of miles away, the real thieves are close to dropping off the horn to Gore and Lyra, who are going to use the horn to force one of the sea monsters to destroy Atlantis. The New Mutants and Namorita decide to team up and go looking for the people who actually stole it, but they might be a little bit too late at this point. Across the ocean now, the horn has been delivered to Gore, and he wastes no time blowing that thing. And, and the New Mutants and Namorita show up and are confronted by a large monster called up by Gore. Gore and Lyra didn't expect them to show up, so they use their ship to shoot them down, but the monster actually hits the ship, causing a hole to open up on the ship, and the horn flies out, gets crushed by the ship, but that wasn't a complete fail on their end because the monster has poisoned most of the people in Atlantis already. And Gore and Lyra believe they caused enough sacrifice in Atlantis to finally wake Set at this point. Namorita and the New Mutants still have to deal with the monster, so they lure it away to a deep underwater canyon, and Boom Boom uses her powers to blow him up, and then they go their separate ways after Namorita goes back to rebuild Atlantis.
By herself.
So then we jump over to the X Factor Annual number 4. We start with Jean unknowingly flying 3 miles above the ground. She's not conscious really at all. Her body's just flying up in the air. And she's flying 3 miles above the ground after being pulled up by this like tractor beam with Beast holding onto her for dear life. He just has one hand on her ankle just holding on. And as they continue to fly at top speed through the air, Beast takes a Hail Mary and telepathically calls out to Jean, hoping that she hears it, which she does. But then that breaks the tractor beam somehow, and then all of a sudden they start plummeting towards the ground with no real way to stop themselves. Because she wakes up enough to hear it, but immediately passes out again. So now she's just free falling towards the ocean. We also see that now Gore's pretty pissed off as he watches this from his lair. He was planning on using her as one of Set's new brides. After falling straight down into the Atlantic, Beast Jean and Beast are headed straight for the water. She subconsciously protects them from dying, but she's still unconscious. Beast tries to swim towards her, but she floats on to the end of a water purification system, and she's stuck there. When Beast tries to pull her off of it, it blows up. It sends them to the surface where there are Atlantean troops on their heads ready to kill him before Atuma shows up to stop them. He remembers Jean is the Phoenix who once rejected him, and I'm giving a huge trigger warning here for sexual assault, just in case. Still unconscious, he takes away to do unspeakable. He takes Jean away to do unspeakable things to her, which I'm not going to say on this podcast.
Who writes that into a book?
I don't know. I have no idea. But he leaves Beast there and tells the warriors if Beast is still alive, kill him. Before they can do that, Andromeda, which is Atuma's daughter, shows up and she tries to kill Atuma's warriors that are there. After some fighting, Beast floats to the surface and gets some air. Not too long after, Andromeda comes up to the surface as well to enlist Beast's help in the fight against Atuma. Atuma is going to try doing some fuckboy shit. And finally, Jean comes back to her right mind, and she blasts Atuma away before he's actually able to do anything to her. But he doesn't give up. He keeps trying to come back. Meanwhile, Gore is still trying to figure out where the hell Jean is, because last he saw, she was being sucked into the water purification system. And and you gotta think, this is besides the story, right? So in real life, Jean's gotta really be like, probably she's gotta be fine as hell. Like, for as many men that tried to just have Jean as their own, as their wife, their girlfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, in the Marvel universe, Jean has to be probably like one of the finest people there is.
What a coincidence that she's one of the most powerful and the most beautiful person on the planet.
She has to be like the most beautiful woman there.
And she's nice.
Yeah. But like they're only basing, most of them are basing it solely off of her looks. Scott's like the only one who actually knows her and loves her for who she is. Everybody else is just like no, I gotta have that. She has to be mine. Even Mr. Sinister was like, she's gonna make some good babies. I need that baby. Like, it's gotta come from her. Scott can't be with anybody else. Like, that's nuts.
Yeah, that is pretty.
Atuma lives under the water and still is like, there's not anybody better. I live under the water and I need the Phoenix to be with me. That's nuts.
Creepy, but nuts.
Yeah. Wolverine, on top of all that, Havoc was just in love with somebody that looked like her. Nuts.
Real quick before you start, do you have a phone charger?
Yeah, Pokemon cards. Yeah. It's slow. But go for it. Okay. So, you ready?
Yep.
Okay. So, they try to locate her. They try to locate Jean, but they see other life forms in the area, including another woman, which is Andromeda. He tells them, Gore tells them, go get her. Go get her instead. So instead of they can't find Jean, they see Andromeda, go get her, we'll bring her instead. So Beast and Andromeda make it to Jean just in the nick of time. They save her from Atuma's whole little rampage, but Andromeda stays to fight her dad. But as Beast gets to the surface, he sees that Jean still isn't breathing. He tries to resuscitate her, but it doesn't work. Just then, a face pops into the sky, and it's who we know, but Beast doesn't. Gore just projects his face into the sky, and he says, "I can save her, but the only way I can save her is if Beast lets me take her away without his interruption." So, not wanting to see Jean die, he says, "Well, if you can save her, save her, because I'm not gonna like I can't stand in the way of that." So he says, "Yeah, go ahead, take her." When Jean arrives in the lair, he sends her to receive medical help, so he does actually save her life. Then Gore stops Atuma just short of killing his own daughter, and he teleports her into the lair as well. And that pisses off Atuma to no end. He's losing his shit right now. And then, surprisingly, we jump over to the Web of Spider-Man, number 5, the annual number 5. And then we see the U.S. military is on high alert in Manhattan because they got word that the Atlantean army is headed there for an attack. And I don't know what I put there. That looks like somebody's like weird password. But I'm assuming it's going to say standing side by side with the military is Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four. Making sure they don't wait too long, the Atlanteans show up and start to shoot to kill instantly. And the superheroes also waste no time in fighting back. Out on the battlefield, they all kind of split up again. Johnny, Sue, and Spider-Man team up and toss some of the warriors just back into the ocean. Reed and Miss Marvel, who is... her name is Susan, I believe. But she's actually Miss Marvel in the rock form, like the Thing. She's on the team right now. And Ben is kind of there too, but he's like, he has to wear a rock costume. So, because he's back in his human form. So Reed and Miss Marvel, I believe her Susan or whatever her name is, they're taking some heavy beatings on their end. And more Atlanteans keep coming out of the water, along with the sea creature called Megasaur, which is the most normal name I've heard so far. Under the water, Atuma, Gore, and Lyra are watching the battle from their submarine base or whatever. And while this is happening, Lyra has the Lemurian forces stationed right above Atlantis, ready to blow that thing to pieces. Back on land, the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man are having no luck keeping the Megasaur at bay. Across the street, an Atlantean tank is rolling towards the military, but they're stopped by a mystery man in a suit who tears a chunk of the wall next to him off to shield the military from Atlantean fire. And then once he destroys the tank, he just disappears. And nobody knows who it was. So, at this point, all the Fantastic Four have taken lumps and are out for the count. So Spider-Man is there alone. Sue can walk enough to get to Reed, who is unconscious. But when she walks up to Reed, Gore shows up, tells her she will be another bride for Set, takes her away. Reed wakes up a little too late as he sees Sue being taken away. Spider-Man has been holding off the Megasaur, and the Fantastic Four have gotten back on their feet, but Atuma has joined the battle with more warriors. But as soon as Atuma touches land, Lyra sends word and leads the Megasaur into the city, causing him to punch an electronic billboard, which sends him into a crazy rage. And Spider-Man then leads him back to the water, and as soon as he hits the water, it just keeps walking and never turns around. And then after a while, Atuma gets word from one of his warriors that Atlantis has been attacked by Lemurian warriors. He orders all of his armies to stand down on land. They take off, and Atuma surrenders to the U.S. military. After all that is done, Reed holds he holds a presser after this whole thing. He holds his own press conference to tell the world that his wife has been kidnapped and his team will do whatever they need to do to get her back.
It's not newsworthy.
Who are you telling? Who? This man just showed up. So then we go to Avengers West Coast #4 in the annual. And this one starts with Gore looking over the wife he brought for set, or the wives that he brought for set. And like you said earlier, first panel, right off the bat, we got Storm, She-Hulk, Dagger, Wanda, Jean Grey, Andromeda, and Sue Storm. And 7. And everything's going well until Dagger trips, and then that's when they realize that Dagger's blind. Which shouldn't matter because the Atlanteans didn't kill all the humans in the military. They fought as a sacrifice. So, like, they don't even have all the steps in play to bring back Set in the first place. So the fact that she's blind shouldn't mean shit. And let's see. Then we cut over to the Human Torch flying around. But we quickly figure out that this Human Torch is Jim Hammond, the original one, not Johnny Storm, the little poser. And he's been brought back to life. He's reminiscing about how the Atlanteans used to be his former enemies and then friends. Back at the West Coast Avengers headquarters, Vision is getting at the team, wondering why they haven't gone after his wife, Wanda, yet. Especially when Beast told them that they just kidnapped Jean as well. So he's like, okay, now there's 2 of our people that have been kidnapped, and we're just kind of chilling here. So what the hell is going on? Wonder Man is being a major hater right now against Vision. It's like, he clearly has a thing for Wanda at this point, but he's not having any of Vision's shit. Like, he's just hating on him the whole time. So the team decides that their only mission right now is to find all the missing women. We cut over to the ocean. We see Andromeda and She-Hulk swimming to go retrieve something for Gore. And every time either of them tries to do things on their own accord, basically, this mental override kind of just kicks in and forces them to keep doing what he sent them to do. Mm-hmm. So Gore is sending all the women out to retrieve the life force for Set in hopes of that working. So they couldn't do the sacrifice. So now he's just kind of sending them on a rescue mission to help save this whole thing. Jean and Sue go to Chicago. There's a museum with a Lumerian artifact there that contains the life force they need. Meanwhile, She-Hulk and Andromeda are attacked by a sea creature again. But She-Hulk was able to send out an SOS to the West Coast Avengers, and they flew over where they found the SOS signal coming from, and they found her. She's being choked out by the sea monster. She and Andromeda had come across. The West Coast Avengers come in, guns blazing, and the monster just couldn't care less about what's being shot at him. So Vision phases into the monster, then increases his density, killing the monster, and then they pull She-Hulk out of the water, but Andromeda is nowhere to be seen. A little while after she makes it back to Gore's lair with the life force, but no She-Hulk. So Andromeda makes it back to the lair, but not with She-Hulk next to her. And slowly his plan is unraveling in front of him. But She-Hulk is still kind of brainwashed, so they decide to let her go back to the lair. But Cersei can track her telepathically, and she can lead the team to Gore. They all follow along and blast down the door when they arrive. They're kicking Deviant ass in there when Gore sends Storm to stop them. But no one believes it's her because she's supposed to be dead. So it's like, oh, you're just sending a ghost at us? Who cares? Wonder Man makes it to Gore. He smashes one of the life force items, but gets stopped before he can get to the second one. Gore, now freaking out, sends Wanda to use her powers as a replacement for the broken life force. And the West Coast Avengers try to stop the whole process, but they can't stop Wanda. And she uses her powers as that life force, and Set rises. And then we jump over to Thor Annual number 14, and we're almost there, guys. We're almost there.
Don't worry, folks. We're right there with you.
We are just as exhausted as you are with this one. So Thor, Quasar, The Thing, and Doctor Strange decide to go out and find Set at home. At his home. I can't find him anywhere. Is he under the couch? And they find him in the same place we left the West Coast Avengers. But it looks like no matter who was there, it wouldn't have made a difference. Set is ripping apart the West Coast Avengers, and I'm sure Thor and friends won't help much. Thor, Strange, Quasar, and The Thing are all fighting with each other now about how to go about this. Ben just wants to grab Sue and go and get out of there, but no one's going to let that fly. So they decide to do what we all guessed, fly directly into Set's mouth. And when they do, he isn't built to eat Earth creatures. He's a cosmic elder god that even Thor, that's even older than Thor. So they keep flying inside until they hit like this cosmic barrier. And they spend a minute trying to break through the barrier inside of Set. And when they break through, they end up in some weird reverse dimension where Set now looks like he was turned inside out. So now it just looks like this big lizard-looking thing is completely turned inside out. Guts on the outside.
Oh.
And after a while of battle, Inside Out after a while of battling Inside Out Set, they aren't getting anywhere, so Thor decides to call on some elder Asgardian gods for help. He reaches some, but they can't help because Set has blocked them from entering the battle. But she tells him the elder Asgardian god that he reached, tells Thor to reach out to the Demogorg and see if he can help. And boy, oh boy, does he make it through to help. He's killed many elder gods before, so this isn't his first rodeo. So Thor and the Demogorg combine themselves for a time, and show up to the battle and start whooping ass. They end up beating Set. Everyone is happy, but then they realize that the Demogorg is a god killer, and Thor is now no longer. Because they merged together. But Demogorg is surprised that Thor was willing to give his immortal life to save millions, so he spit him out so they can go home now. But now the portal in which they came through is closing because they killed Set, so they race through, barely make it out before it closes, and the West Coast Avengers are happy, but Gore also took off when he saw them coming back through the portal. So Set's been killed, but they still haven't got Gore yet. Almost. So Fantastic Four Annual number 22. Later on, the Fantastic Four and a few members of the West Coast Avengers are on their way to Lemuria to stop Gore from finding a way to make Set rise again and to save the Seven Brides. Captain Marvel tells everyone that since they've killed Set this battle, they're walking into might not be, or the battle they're walking into now might be more of a power struggle than anything else between Gore and Lyra. Because Lyra was kind of promised reign over, I believe, the water. Or anything under the water. But that was only if Set came into power. So I don't know what the fuck they're fighting over. And so in the submarine ahead of them, the Fantastic Four are worried about what they're moving towards as well. Gore and Lyra are both pissed about how the Demogorgon cut off Set's head and sent them to different dimensions. They sent the head to a different dimension from the body. So, but Lyra explains that it's not all lost. We still have the Lemurian armies at our service, and we also have the Serpent Crown as well. Besides all of that, if we sacrifice the 7 brides, that should give us enough life force to bring back Set. But she also lets him know that if you try to do me like you did Atlantis, I'll end you. When vessels heading towards Lemuria, Lyra sends the army out full force and then tells them to hold off the heroes so they have enough time to sacrifice the brides. We got the Thing, Miss Marvel, and Reed. They start plowing through the army immediately. Doctor Strange and Thor take out their own group of the army, and both Human Torches are having the time of their lives. Not really doing much. So Gore is now trying to drain the life forces of the brides by spinning them around fast like a blender. And he says this helps release the life force from their bodies. The Fantastic Four make it through the army, and Lyra can see them getting closer, so she sets off the outer building defenses. Before she can start shooting at them with the building weapons, a new challenger has arrived, our buddy Namor.
Damn it, I thought he would be dead.
Nope. Always comes back. He hops up and he completely wrecks all the building cannons that they have, but they're still locked out of the building. They can't get in. So Namor's idea is to get in from under the building through the water. So he takes the Fantastic Four with him. While they're on their way to the hatch, they can open. They're on their way to a hatch that they can open. Namor tells them he wants revenge on Lyra for killing his first wife, Lady Dorma, his father, and his second wife, Marina.
Damn.
So yeah, he's coming back with a vengeance. Like, you killed both of my wives and my dad? No, I gotta take you out. So they make it to the hatch, they hop in, Namor leads them directly to the room with the brides in it and the Serpent Crown. But by the time they make it in, Reed notices that Sue and the rest are fading away. They don't have much time to save them. Namor goes straight for Lyra, but she starts to get the upper hand on him pretty quickly, and Gore brainwashes Ben into fighting Miss Marvel and convinces Reed into fighting Johnny. To rub salt in the wound, Lyra shows Namor pictures of both of his dead wives and offers to bring them back to life if he joins her. He screams no, and he just starts wrecking the whole place, conveniently releasing Namorita in the process, which I didn't even know that she had been kidnapped in the first place. Gore tells Lyra to stop messing with Namor and help protect the Serpent Crown. She tells him no because she tells him no because she wants to kill Namor. Meanwhile, the Fantastic Four is already shaking off the brainwashing that's happened to them. Gore, feeling backed into the corner, decides to use the Serpent Crown for its secret powers. He uses it to blast Johnny down, but the rest of the team dodges the blast. But in all the chaos, Gore hears the voice of the last person to rock the Serpent Crown, which was somebody named Naga of Lemuria. And Naga says that he is coming back to reclaim his power. Refusing to lose out on this power, he is now battling Naga for control of the Serpent Crown. The power struggle is too much, and it eventually causes Naga, Gore, Lyra to all disappear out of existence. The 7 brides are broken from their trance, and then the West Coast Avengers burst down the door. A little too late, but sure. Thanks for showing up. But everyone stops celebrating for a moment when they realize that the Serpent Crown is going to explode. The 7 brides take it out, push it into the trench that's closest to them in the water, where it explodes harmlessly.
They need 7 people to do that?
Yeah. Namorita and Namor vow to find all of the displaced Atlanteans and build a new Atlantis. And that was it.
Thank goodness.
Oh, woof.
I'm going to get straight into it. That was a Paul Walker for sure.
I said forget about it, cuz.
I don't even have much to say about it, but I'm giving it Paul Walker.
That was
I said
trash.
forget about it, cuz.
It was horrible.
Just the
This was just a bad
disorganization.
story. You guys didn't plan it well. Like, I was getting spoilers 4 issues ahead. It didn't need to be 14 issues. This could have been one annual easy.
Did the Celestial show back up?
No.
In the Silver Surfer one, it starts with under a mountain there was a sleeping Celestial, which Gore was like, I guess he inhabited at some point.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that issue, it's like stirs a little bit under the mountain, causes like earthquake, but it never shows back up. Yeah, this is trash.
It was bad. It was garbage.
I feel stupider for reading this.
Yeah, if I could right now, I'd play that whole speech from Billy Madison. Everything. This whole room is now dumber.
It was not good. Do not read it.
Don't waste your time. Thanks for listening, but don't waste your time reading
Yeah.
this.
Go do something else with your time. Go learn a new talent or a new language or something. I don't care what it is. Just don't read this.
It was just, it was disorganized. It was not a good. You could have easily done that in 3 or 4 issues.
Yeah.
You added all these extra characters for only the West Coast Avengers and the Fantastic Four to be there at the end.
I kind of don't like when they throw in so many characters. Like, it just makes, 1, too many books to read.
Mm-hmm.
2, like, then I'm just not focusing on anything. It's just like, oh, this person's here. This person's going to throw a punch. Oh, aren't you guys amazed? Like, give me some real story. Give me some...
Yeah. And that's why, I mean, this is kind of MCU related too. This is why I kind of don't like the MCU shows and movies that have hella cameos. Because it's like, okay, cool. You brought Punisher in to do this for 2 episodes. But he doesn't have really anything to do with the end of the story.
Yeah.
Cool. But,
yeah, I mean, if they're going to have, like, more than 5 or 6 episodes, then, okay, maybe 1 or 2 characters showing up. But, like, 6 episodes and then you have, like, a cameo in 2 or 3 of those. Just not enough time. I don't think that's happened yet.
No,
but
it hasn't. But there's always online, it's like, oh, I want, before a new show starts for the MCU, it's always, oh, I want this character, this one to show up, and I want this to happen. It's like, fam, we get 6 episodes.
What you're talking about is a full-on
What do you want
crossover that took a year.
Like, something hitting the window? You know what I mean?
No. But there are leaves.
What is that fucking noise then?
What?
I don't know. I keep hearing something knocking right here.
The clicking?
Yeah.
That?
Yeah.
It's my keychain.
Oh. The fuck? Yeah, this story was trash. I didn't like it. It was, just not good.
Not good. Not worth your time.
Not good. I don't even want to talk about this anymore. What do we have next? What are you doing next week? Do you know?
I forgot the name of it, but I do know I am reading something.
Okay. I am too. We're reading separate stories. I'm not exactly sure when we'll hit them or when they'll come out, but we're here. We got this episode done out of pure necessity.
Yeah.
If I didn't need to do it, I wouldn't do it. Because this story was bad. I would have cut this off early. But thanks for listening. Just as always, share it with whoever you think might want to listen to it. Friends, family, cousins, brothers, your neighbors. I don't care. Share it. Put it on the Nextdoor app. So, I mean, everybody else puts everything up there that doesn't pertain to anything in the neighborhood. Go ahead. But, yeah, thanks as always for listening, guys. We will be back next week. We appreciate you listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.